Listen, I have seen a lot of stupid decisions in my 3 cycles at the Valorian Combat Academy. I have watched cadets try to fight battle drones with their bare claws. I have witnessed someone attempt to hack a military-grade security system using nothing but confidence and ignorance. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day the humans sent us Maravos. Let me set the scene for you. The Valorian Academy sits on the moon of Turthos Prime, a sprawling complex of training halls, simulation chambers, and enough weaponry to make a warlord weep with joy. We are not talking about some fancy university where spoiled rich kids pretend to learn diplomacy. No, no, no. This is where the Galactic Coalition trains its warriors, its tacticians, its stone-cold killers. Only the best of the best get through those doors. The acceptance rate? 0.03%. Yeah, you read that right. I am Kresh, by the way, Kresh Valthorian. My people, the Drachner, are 7 feet tall, covered in crimson scales, and built like we were designed specifically to rip things apart. Because, well, we were natural predators from a high-gravity world where everything wants to kill you before breakfast. We have dominated the combat rankings at this academy for the past 60 years. 60 years. Our reputation is spotless, our record is unmatched, and our pride is admittedly pretty damn inflated. So when Administrator Vex announced during morning assembly that we would be receiving a new transfer student from Earth, the reaction was, shall we say, mixed. And by mixed I mean everyone started laughing. Earth, my training partner Xyloth hissed, his mandibles clicking with amusement. Xyloth is Krexian, insectoid, 6 limbs, compound eyes, the whole package. Smart as hell but absolutely ruthless in combat. Is that not the planet with those squishy bipeds, the ones with the fragile bones and no natural weapons? They call themselves humans, added Syrah, a Venthure female with silver skin and 4 arms. She was examining her claws with obvious disinterest. I heard they come from a world with barely any gravity. 0.98 standard. Can you imagine? They probably collapse under their own weight here. The laughter rippled through the assembly hall. 300 of the galaxy's most dangerous young warriors, and all of them thought this was hilarious. Even I could not help but smirk. Humans, cute little Death World inhabitants, who somehow convinced the coalition they deserved a seat at the table. They had been part of the galactic community for what, 10 cycles? Babies. Absolute babies playing in a universe they did not understand. Silence. Administrator Vex commanded, his 3 eyes sweeping across the room. Vex is Turellian, built like a walking tank, with gray skin thick enough to stop most small arms fire. He does not joke around, ever. The human will arrive tomorrow. You will treat her with the same respect you show every cadet. Is that understood? Her? Someone called out from the back. More laughter. Vex's eyes narrowed. Is there a problem, Cadet Rax? Rax, a Kortham with rocky hide and fists like boulders, stood up. Big mistake. With all due respect, Administrator, this is the Valorian Academy. We train warriors here, not, whatever humans are good at. Making noise? Forming committees? Talking things to death? The hall erupted. Cadets were howling, slamming their appendages on tables, tentacles writhing with mirth. Even the instructors looked like they were fighting smiles. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy, sure, but not the kind you want. They were known for being stubborn, emotional, and completely out of their depth in any serious combat situation. They were diplomats, merchants, engineers maybe, not fighters. Vex let the chaos continue for exactly 5 seconds before his voice boomed through the hall like a cannon shot. Enough. Instant silence. You do not mess with Vex. The human cadet scored in the 98th percentile on the Coalition entry exams. Her tactical assessment placed her in the top 5% across all species. She earned her place here just like every single one of you. So unless you want to spend the next cycle scrubbing waste recyclers, I suggest you shut your mouths and focus on your own performance. Dismissed. We filed out, still chuckling. 98th percentile. Sure. Probably curved the scores because she was human. Pity points. The Coalition was always doing that kind of thing, trying to be inclusive, making sure every species felt special. It was adorable, really. The next morning, I was running combat drills in Training Hall 7 when the doors opened and she walked in. Mara Voss. My first thought. This has to be a joke. She was tiny. I mean, I knew humans were small, but this was ridiculous. Maybe 5.5 feet tall, probably 120 pounds soaking wet. She had dark hair pulled back in a simple tail, pale skin that looked like it would bruise if you breathed on it too hard, and these strange brown eyes that seemed almost, I don't know, soft, fragile. She wore the standard academy uniform, gray and black combat fatigues that somehow looked too big on her frame. She carried no visible weapons, no armor, no enhancement. She looked like a stiff breeze could kill her. The hall went quiet. 30 cadets stopped mid-drill to stare. I watched Rax, the same idiot from yesterday, nudge his partner and grin. Sarah actually laughed out loud. Xyloth's mandibles were clicking so fast I thought they might fall off. Mara stood in the doorway for a moment, scanning the room with those weird, soft eyes. Her expression was blank, neutral. She did not look scared, exactly, but she did not look confident either. She looked like someone who had walked into the wrong room and was too polite to leave. Instructor Crane, a massive ergoth with tusks and enough muscle to bench press a shuttle, stomped over to her.
Cadet Voss.
Yes, sir. Her voice was quiet, almost too quiet. I could barely hear her from across the hall. Crane looked her up and down, and I swear I saw disappointment flash across his face. You are in the wrong training hall. Beginners report to Hall 2. I was assigned to Hall 7, sir, advanced combat rotation. She pulled out a data pad and showed him. Crane's tusks twitched. He checked the pad, grunted, and waved her in. Fine, find a spot. Try not to get killed. A few cadets snickered. Mara walked past them without a word, her footsteps almost silent on the training mat. She found an empty space near the back, set down her gear, and started stretching. Basic stretches, the kind you do to warm up before a light jog, not before advanced combat training. Oh, this was going to be entertaining. Crane called us to attention. Today's session is Level 4 Mixed Combat. You will face opponents of varying species, sizes, and skill sets. Weapons are live but set to stun. Medical teams are on standby. If you cannot handle this, leave now. Nobody moved. This was standard stuff. Brutal, sure, but standard. Pair up, warm up rounds first, then we rotate. I ended up across from Xyloth. We had sparred 1,000 times. He was fast, I was strong. It usually ended in a draw. We exchanged blows for 5 minutes, both of us moving at maybe 60%, enough to sweat, not enough to actually hurt each other. Around us, the hall filled with the sounds of combat. Grunts, impacts, the hum of energy weapons on training mode, and then I saw Rax walking toward the back of the hall. Toward Mara. Oh no, Rax was not just big. He was mean. The kind of guy who enjoyed hurting people a little too much. He had been reprimanded twice for excessive force during sparring, putting him against a human in her first session. That was not training. That was a execution. Hey, human! Rax's voice boomed across the hall. Several cadets stopped to watch. Need a partner? Mara looked up from her stretches. Her expression did not change. Sure. She said it so casually, so calmly, like she had no idea what was about to happen. Rax grinned, showing all his teeth. He cracked his knuckles, each one sounding like a small explosion. Go easy on her, Rax. Someone called out. Laughter followed. Oh, I will, Rax said, stepping onto the mat. Wouldn't want to break the fragile little human on her first day. Mara stood up. She barely came up to Rax's chest. She did not take a combat stance. She just stood there, hands at her sides, watching him with those strange eyes. Crane noticed the pairing and hesitated. I saw him start to move forward, probably to stop this before it became a disaster. But then he stopped. Maybe he was curious. Maybe he wanted to see what the human could do. Maybe he was just cruel. Hard to say. Begin, Crane called out. Rax did not waste time. He lunged forward, one massive fist swinging toward Mara's head. Not a testing jab, a real punch, the kind that could crack bone. What happened next happened so fast I almost missed it. Mara moved, not away, toward. She ducked under the punch, stepped inside Rax's guard, and drove her elbow into his ribs. The impact made a sound like a hammer hitting meat. Rax gasped, stumbled back, shock written all over his face. Before he could recover, Mara swept his legs. All 300 pounds of him crashed to the mat so hard the floor shook. The hall went silent. Mara stepped back, returning to her neutral stance, hands at her sides, expression blank, like she had just swatted a fly. Rax lay there for a second, blinking up at the ceiling. Then rage flooded his face. He roared, launching himself off the ground with the fury of a wounded predator. He came at her with everything he had, fists, elbows, even tried to grab her in a bear hug that would have crushed her spine. She slipped every attack, every single one. She moved like water, like smoke, like she knew where he was going to strike before he did. And every time she dodged, she countered. A palm strike to his throat, a knee to his thigh, an open-handed slap to his ear that made him stumble. None of the hits looked powerful. She was not trying to knock him out. She was picking him apart. Methodically, precisely. It was not a fight. It was a dissection. 30 seconds in, Rax was breathing hard. 60 seconds. He was bleeding from his nose. 90 seconds. He was limping. And Mara. She looked bored. Finally, Rax made one last desperate lunge. Mara sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, twisted and used his own momentum to flip him face first into the mat. She pressed one knee into his back, hyperextending his arm just enough to make him cry out. "Yield?" she asked. Still quiet, still calm. Rax slammed his free hand on the mat. "I yield. I yield." She released him immediately, stood up, and walked back to her starting position. Rax lay there, gasping, defeated. The entire hall was frozen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. We just stared. Crane cleared his throat. Next rotation. That broke the spell. Cadets started moving again, but the energy in the room had changed. Suddenly, everyone was very aware of the small human standing in the back of the hall. She was not stretching anymore. She was just standing there, waiting. Patient, unbothered. Sarah went next. Confident, aggressive, forearms moving in a blur. She lasted 2 minutes before Mara put her on the ground. Then Vex, a Talrian known for his speed. 90 seconds. Then Korla, a Jexian grappler. She tapped out in under a minute. One by one, cadets stepped up to face the human, and one by one they went down. Different species, different fighting styles, different advantages. Did not matter. Mara adapted to each of them, found their weakness, and exploited it without mercy. She did not trash talk. She did not gloat. She barely even seemed interested. She just fought, won, and moved on. By the time Crane called for a break, Mara had faced 12 opponents. She had won 12 times, and she was not even breathing hard. And I stood there, watching her sip water from a standard-issue bottle, and felt something I had not felt in a long time at this academy. Doubt. Real, genuine doubt. About myself. About my people. About everything I thought I knew. Zealoth clicked over to me, his compound eyes wide. That should not be possible. She has no natural weapons, no armor, no modifications. How? I shook my head. I have no idea. She is from a low-gravity world, Sarah added, nursing a bruised shoulder. She should be weaker here, not stronger. That was the thing, wasn't it? Mara was not stronger. I had seen her hits. They were not particularly powerful. A Drachner could hit 3 times as hard, a Korthon 5 times, but power was not what mattered. Precision mattered, timing mattered. Understanding your opponent mattered, and somehow this quiet little human from Earth understood combat in a way that made the rest of us look like amateurs. Crane's voice cut through the whispers. Cadet Voss, front and center. Mara walked to the middle of the mat. Crane looked down at her, his expression unrateable. Impressive performance. Where did you train? Multiple places. Started when I was 6. 6? Crane's tusks twitched. Human years? Yes, sir. And you have been training ever since? Yes, sir. Crane was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. You are dismissed for the day. Report to my office at 1600 hours. We need to discuss your placement. Yes, sir. Mara bowed slightly, grabbed her gear and walked out of the training hall. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. The moment she was gone, chaos erupted. Everyone started talking at once, voices overlapping, questions flying. What just happened? How did she do that? Where did humans learn to fight like that? Was this some kind of I did not join the conversation. I just stood there, replaying every movement I had seen. The way she moved. The way she read her opponents. The complete absence of fear or hesitation. This was not luck. This was not beginner's fortune. This was skill, real terrifying skill. And then it hit me. The thing that made my scales prickle with something between awe and dread. Mara had held back. Every fight, every opponent, she had only used exactly as much force as necessary. She had not been trying to humiliate anyone. She had not been showing off. She had been… what? Testing herself? Testing us? Evaluating? What the hell were humans actually capable of? That night, word spread through the entire academy like wildfire. By dinner, every single cadet knew about the human who had walked into advanced combat and dismantled 12 opponents without breaking a sweat. The stories got wilder with each retelling. Some said she moved so fast she was invisible. Others claimed she had psychic powers. One idiot insisted she was actually a robot in a human suit. I sat with Xyloth and Sarah in the dining hall, pushing my food around my plate. Neither of them were eating much either. I looked up her file. Xyloth said quietly. She is 19 standard years old, competed in something called mixed martial arts tournaments on Earth, won multiple championships, has black belts in 6 different human combat systems. 6 black belts. Sarah frowned. What does that mean? Expert level, master level. The kind of rank that takes decades to achieve. She has 6 of them. At 19, Sarah's silver skin paled. That is not normal, right? Even for humans. I have no idea what is normal for humans anymore. I muttered. The next morning, I made a decision. I had to know. I had to understand. So I did something I had never done before. I went to the Academy's archives and started researching Earth. Really researching. Not just the basic overview they give you in Galactic Cultures class. I wanted details. History. Context. What I found made my blood run cold. Earth, 0.98 standard gravity. Sure, but the rest? Oh, the rest was nightmare fuel. A world where predators stalked prey with persistence that bordered on insanity. Where survival meant outlasting everything else through sheer stubborn endurance. Where humans, those soft, squishy bipeds, had climbed to the top of the food chain not through strength or speed or natural weapons, but through intelligence, adaptability, and a truly horrifying capacity for violence when necessary. They fought wars. Not small skirmishes. Actual wars. Thousands of years of them. They developed weapons specifically designed to kill each other more efficiently. They created entire martial arts systems, hundreds of them, each one refined over centuries. They trained their young from childhood to fight, to compete, to never give up. They had a saying. I found it buried in an anthropology text. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. They didn't quit, ever. That was their thing. Persistence. Endurance. Keep getting up no matter how many times you get knocked down. And they applied that philosophy to everything, including combat. I sat back from the terminal, my mind racing. We had made a mistake, a huge, catastrophic mistake. We had looked at humans and seen weakness, fragile bones, soft skin, no claws, no fangs, no armor. But we had completely missed what made them dangerous. They were adaptable. They learned, they studied their enemies, and found weaknesses. They turned disadvantages into advantages. They never stopped improving, never stopped evolving, and they had thousands of years of practice doing it to each other. Mara Voss was not an exception. She was not some freak of nature or lucky prodigy. She was just a human. A well-trained, dedicated, skilled human. And if one human could do this, what could 100 do? 1,000? An army? The thought terrified me. The next week was strange. Mara attended all her classes, participated in all the training sessions, and continued to quietly dominate everyone she faced. But something had shifted. Cadets stopped laughing, stopped making jokes. Some avoided her entirely. Others watched her with a mix of respect and fear. A few brave souls tried to befriend her, to learn from her. I was one of them. I found her one evening in the gymnasium, working through forms. Solo training, repetitive movements, strikes and blocks against invisible opponents. She moved with the same precision she showed in combat, every motion deliberate and controlled. Cadet Voss, I said, approaching carefully. She stopped mid-form, turned to face me. Cadet Kresh, What can I do for you? I was hoping you might. I stumbled over the words, pride and curiosity warring inside me. I wanted to ask about your training. If you would be willing to She studied me for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, she smiled. Small but genuine. You want to learn? Yes. If you are willing to teach. Why? The question caught me off guard. Because you are the best fighter I have seen, and I want to be better. She nodded slowly. Okay, but you should know something first. Human combat training is not about being stronger or faster. It is about being smarter, about understanding yourself and your opponent, about control. You handle that. I can try. Good. That is all I ask. Trying. She gestured to the mat. Let us start with the basics. Show me your stance. And that is how it began. The quiet human girl who walked into the Valorian Academy and changed everything. Not through force or intimidation or political maneuvering, but through skill, patience, and a willingness to teach anyone humble enough to ask. The academy would never be the same, and neither would I. So here is the thing about training with a human. They are patient. Annoyingly, impossibly patient. I thought Drachner were disciplined. We train from childhood, we practice daily, we push ourselves to the limit. But Mara, she took patience to a whole new level. Week 1 of training with her nearly broke me. Again, she said. I threw the punch. Same punch I had thrown maybe 200 times already. My arm felt like it was going to fall off. My scales were slick with sweat. Every muscle in my body screamed for rest. Again, I have done this correctly 50 times already, I growled. Can we move on? She shook her head. You have done it acceptably 50 times. Acceptable is not good enough. Again, I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that I was a top-ranked cadet, that I had been training since I was a hatchling, that I did not need to repeat basic punches like some beginner. But something in her eyes stopped me. Not anger, not impatience, just certainty. Like she knew something I didn't, like she could see a future where this repetition mattered. So I threw the punch again. Better. Your hip rotation is improving, but you are still telegraphing the movement with your shoulder. Watch. She demonstrated her movement so smooth it looked effortless. See how my shoulder stays relaxed until the moment of impact? That half-second of delay makes it impossible to predict. Again, I copied her. Failed. Tried again. Failed better. Tried again. And again. By the end of that first session, my punch was different. Not stronger exactly, but cleaner. More efficient, harder to see coming. Mara nodded once. Just once. And said, good. Same time tomorrow. That became our routine. Every evening after regular training we met in the gymnasium. Just the two of us. At first anyway, by week 2 Zydloth started showing up. Then Sira. Then others. Mara never turned anyone away, she just nodded, adjusted her teaching to include them, and kept going. She taught us things that seemed ridiculous at first. Breathing techniques. Meditation. Body awareness exercises that felt more like dance than combat. She made us close our eyes and spar blind, relying on sound and air movement. She made us fight with one hand tied behind our backs, forcing us to adapt. She made us explain our techniques out loud while executing them, teaching us to think and act simultaneously. Human military training emphasizes something called adaptability under pressure, she explained one evening. We were all sitting in a circle, cooling down after a brutal session. The idea is that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So instead of memorizing rigid techniques, you learn principles. Once you understand the principles, you can apply them to any situation. What principles? Sira asked. She had become one of Mara's most dedicated students, training twice as hard as anyone else. Balance, leverage, timing, economy of motion. These work regardless of your opponent's size, species, or fighting style. A properly applied joint lock does not care if you have 2 arms or 6. Physics is physics. Xyla's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. So you are saying that understanding the fundamental mechanics of combat is more important than memorizing specific moves? Exactly. Specific moves are tools, principles are the foundation. Master the foundation and you can build any tool you need in the moment. It sounded simple. It was not. Trying to fight based on principles instead of memorized combinations felt like trying to speak a new language. My brain kept reaching for patterns, sequences, the familiar. Mara kept disrupting them, forcing me to think, to adapt, to respond instead of react. It was exhausting. It was frustrating. It was the best training I had ever received. But not everyone was happy about our little training group. 3 weeks in, I was heading to the gymnasium when Rax stepped out of the shadows. He looked rough, bruises on his face, one eye still slightly swollen. He had been picking fights ever since Mara humiliated him, trying to prove something. It was not going well for him. Still playing student to the human, he sneered. I kept walking. Training with her? Yes. Pathetic. You are Drachner. We are apex predators. We do not learn from prey. That stopped me. I turned slowly. Prey? She put you on the ground in 90 seconds. His face darkened. Lucky shot. It won't happen again. Then challenge her again. Prove it. Maybe I will. Or maybe I will prove it by beating some sense into her lapdogs first. He cracked his knuckles. Starting with you. Here is the thing about bullies. They are predictable. Rax wanted to hurt me, sure. But more than that, he wanted an audience. He wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone to make himself feel better about his own failures. So he was loud, aggressive, telegraphing his intentions. Everything Mara had taught me said to de-escalate. Walk away, avoid unnecessary conflict. But some part of me, the old Kresh, the proud Drachner warrior, wanted this fight, wanted to show him what I had learned. Dangerous thinking. Ego thinking. I am not fighting you, Rax. Coward. No, just smarter than you. I turned to walk away. He grabbed my shoulder, spun me around, threw a haymaker at my face. I was not thinking about techniques. I was not thinking about anything. My body just moved. Slip the punch. Step inside. Palm strike to his solar plexus. Sweep the leg. He crashed down exactly like he had with Mara, gasping for air. I stood over him, breathing steady. She is right. Principles over patterns. You should try learning them instead of collecting bruises. I walked away before he could respond. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From adrenaline. Yes. But also from something else. Realization. I had not beaten Rax with Drachner strength. I had beaten him with human principles. With efficiency. With understanding. It was a strange feeling. Pride mixed with humility. I was becoming a better fighter. But I was also becoming a different kind of fighter. Was that good? Bad? I had no idea. That night, Administrator Vex called an assembly. All cadets. All instructors. Mandatory attendance. The mood in the hall was tense. Rumors had been flying for weeks. Complaints about the human. About cadets abandoning traditional training methods. About the disruption to academy culture. Vex stood at the podium, his 3 eyes scanning the crowd. It has come to my attention that there have been concerns regarding Cadet Voss and her influence on academy training protocols. Some have suggested that her methods are undermining established traditions, that she is causing division among the ranks. I am here to address these concerns. The hall was silent. I saw Mara sitting near the front, her expression neutral. She had to know this was about her. She did not look worried. I have reviewed Cadet Voss's performance over the past month, Vex continued. I have also reviewed the performance of cadets who have been training with her. The results are interesting. He pulled up a holographic display. Statistics, combat scores, injury rates, performance metrics. Cadets training with Cadet Voss have shown an average improvement of 37% in combat effectiveness. Their injury rates have dropped by 42%. Their tactical assessment scores have increased by 29%. These are not minor improvements. These are significant, measurable results. Murmurs rippled through the hall. I saw several instructors leaning forward, studying the data. Now, Vex said, some of you may argue that this is because only the most dedicated cadets are training with her. Selection bias. Perhaps, but I had Instructor Crane run a controlled experiment. He took 20 cadets with average performance scores. 10 trained normally, 10 trained using Cadet Voss's methods. After 2 weeks, the human-trained group outperformed the control group in every single category. More murmurs. Louder now. I am not suggesting we abandon our traditional training methods, Vex continued. They have served us well for generations. But I am also not going to ignore evidence when it is staring me in the face. Effective immediately, Cadet Voss will be offered a position as an assistant combat instructor. Her methods will be incorporated into our optional advanced training curriculum. Any cadet who wishes to participate may do so. The hall exploded, shouts of protest. Some cheering, arguments breaking out. Vex let it go on for exactly 5 seconds before slamming his fist on the podium. Silence. This is not a debate. This is my decision as Academy Administrator. If you have a problem with it, you may file a formal complaint through proper channels. Until then, you will show Cadet Voss the respect she has earned.
Dismissed.
We filed out in chaos. I made my way to where Mara was standing, surrounded by cadets. Some congratulating her, some glaring. She looked uncomfortable with the attention. Assistant instructor, I said when I reached her.
Congratulations.
She shrugged. I just wanted to train. I did not ask for this. You never do. That is what makes it genuine. I paused. Are you going to accept? I have to, don't I? Vex does not really make requests. True. I grinned. So what happens now? You going to make us all do push-ups until we vomit? She actually laughed. Small but real. No, I hate push-ups. Too boring. I was thinking more along the lines of scenario-based training, real-world situations, problem-solving under pressure. That sounds terrifying. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The next month was intense. Mara took her new role seriously. She designed training exercises that pushed us in ways we had never experienced. Not just physical challenges, mental ones, ethical ones. One scenario involved rescuing hostages from a fortified position. Straightforward combat, right? Wrong. The hostages were rigged with sensors that detected excessive force. If we came in guns blazing, they died. We had to infiltrate, neutralize threats without lethal force, and extract the targets without triggering alarms. It took 7 attempts before anyone succeeded. Another scenario had us defending a position against overwhelming odds. But here is the twist. We had civilians to protect, limited ammunition, and a time limit before reinforcements arrived. The goal was not to kill all the enemies. It was to hold long enough for the civilians to evacuate. Every cadet who prioritized kills over mission objective failed. Combat is not about fighting. Mara explained after one particularly brutal session. Fighting is what happens when everything else fails. Real warriors understand this. They look for solutions that do not involve violence first. And when violence is necessary, they apply it precisely, no more, no less than required. But we are training to be soldiers, Rax argued. Yeah, he was still around, still bitter, still trying. Soldiers fight wars, soldiers serve a purpose, Mara countered. They protect, they defend, they maintain peace through the credible threat of violence. But the best soldiers are the ones who never have to fire a shot, because they are so good at their job that enemies know better than to start a fight. That is idealistic. No, it is practical. Dead enemies cannot surrender, cannot provide intelligence, cannot become allies. Every fight you avoid is a resource saved. Every enemy you neutralize without killing is a potential future asset. Humans learned this the hard way. We fought each other for thousands of years. We got very, very good at killing. And then we realized that all that killing was not actually solving our problems. So we got better at not killing, at finding other solutions. That is real strength. The room was quiet. I saw cadets exchanging glances. Some skeptical, some thoughtful. Mara had a way of making you question assumptions you didn't even know you had. But the real test came in week 6, the annual Academy War Games. A massive combat simulation involving all 300 cadets, divided into teams, competing across a week-long campaign. Live ammunition on stun settings, full tactical gear, command structure, supply lines. The works. It was the biggest event of the year, and everyone took it seriously. Teams were selected randomly. I got lucky. I was on team with Mara, Xyloth, Syrah, and a dozen others. We also got stuck with Rax, which was less lucky. But whatever, we would make it work. The opening briefing was standard. Capture and hold 5 strategic objectives. Eliminate enemy combatants. Last team standing wins. Simple, or so we thought. Day 1, we secured 2 objectives easily. Standard tactics, overwhelming force. By evening we were feeling confident. Maybe too confident. Day 2, Everything went sideways. We moved on our third objective, a fortified bunker on a hilltop. Intel said it was lightly defended. Intel was wrong. We walked into an ambush. Crossfire from 3 directions. Half our team was stunned in the first 30 seconds. The rest of us dove for cover, pinned down, taking fire from positions we could not see. Fall back. Our team leader, a Korthan named Dex, shouted, "This position is lost." "Wait." Mara's voice was calm. Too calm. "Give me 30 seconds. "We do not have 30 seconds. Dex yelled. Another burst of fire punctuated his point. Mara was already moving, not retreating, advancing. She sprinted toward the nearest enemy position, zigzagging. Using every bit of cover, I watched in horror as she threw herself over a barricade and disappeared from sight. Stunner fire followed her, but nothing connected. 10 seconds later, the fire from that position stopped. Then the second position went quiet. Then the third. All positions neutralized. Mara's voice came over the comm. "Objective is clear. Move up." We advanced cautiously. Found Mara standing in the bunker, surrounded by 6 stunned opponents. She had taken them all out in under a minute, alone. "How?" Dex asked, staring at the unconscious cadets. "They were focused on you," Mara explained. "Tunnel vision. Didn't expect a flanking assault from below. Basic tactical oversight." She said it like it was obvious. Like soloing 6 sent enemies was just a thing you do. Dex looked at her for a long moment. Then he made a decision. "Voss, you are now tactical advisor for this team. I am still in command, but I want your input on every move." She nodded. "Understood." From that moment, everything changed. Mara started calling shots, not commanding exactly, suggesting, advising. But every suggestion was gold. She saw patterns nobody else saw, predicted enemy movements before they happened, found weaknesses in positions that looked impregnable. By day 3, we had captured 4 objectives. Every other team had maybe 2 at most. We were dominating, and then the instructors changed the rules. "Attention all teams." Vex's voice boomed across the training ground. "New scenario parameters. A high-value target has been located in the combat zone. An instructor wearing a designated marker. The first team to capture this target wins immediately, regardless of current score. All other objectives are now secondary. Good luck." The game shifted instantly. Objectives did not matter anymore. Only the target. Problem was, nobody knew where the target was, or who it was. "It is a trap," Mara said immediately. "They want us to abandon our positions and hunt blindly. That is when they will hit us. So what do we do?" I asked. "We hold our ground. Let the other teams chase shadows. When they are exhausted and scattered, then we move." Rax scoffed. "That is cowardice. We should be hunting." "That is tactics," Mara corrected. "Patience is not cowardice." "You would say that. Humans are weak. You hide because you cannot fight directly." Mara's expression did not change. "If you want to go hunt, go hunt. Nobody is stopping you." Rax glared at her. Then, to everyone's shock, he stood up. "Fine. I will win this myself." He grabbed his gear and left. 3 other cadets followed him. "Let them go," Mara said. "When Dex looked like he might call them back, they will learn or they will not. Either way, we are better focused without the distraction." 2 hours later, we heard stunner fire in the distance. Lots of it. Then silence. Our comm lit up. Rax and his group had been eliminated, walked right into an ambush set by another team. "Told you," Mara muttered. We held position for another 4 hours. Boring, tense, but effective. We watched as other teams moved through the area, chasing rumors of the target. We let them pass, conserved our energy, waited, and then right at dusk, Mara stood up. "It is time." "Time for what?" Sarah asked. "I know where the target is." Everyone stared at her. "How could you possibly know that?" Dex demanded. "Because I have been listening." She pointed to a ridge about 2 miles east. 3 times in the past hour I have heard aircraft pass over that area, but not land. They are doing supply drops, which means someone important is there who cannot move. That is where we will find our target. It was insane, a guess based on distant sounds that half of us had not even noticed, but something in the way she said it, the absolute certainty, made us believe her. We moved out, quietly, carefully, using every trick Mara had taught us. When we reached the ridge, we found exactly what she predicted, a heavily fortified camp, at least 20 cadets from various teams, all guarding a central position, and in the middle, wearing a bright orange marker, was Instructor Crane. 20 against 12, Siloth whispered. Not great odds. Odds are irrelevant, Mara said. We have surprise. We have position. We have a plan. What plan? I asked. She smiled. That small, dangerous smile I had come to recognize. What followed was not a battle. It was a magic trick. While the enemy teams focused on the obvious approaches, we split up. Mara took 4 of us on a wide loop around the camp. The remaining 7 created a distraction on the opposite side. Nothing obvious, just small movements, sounds, enough to draw attention. It worked. The defending teams shifted focus, sent scouts to investigate, weakened their perimeter. We slipped through the gap, moving low, slow, silent. Mara led us right up to the central position where Crane sat, pretending to read a datapad. He was surrounded by guards, but they were well facing outward, watching for threats. On my mark, Mara whispered. 3, 2, 1. Mark. We moved as one. 4 simultaneous strikes, 4 guards down. Before anyone could react, Mara had Crane by the arm, her stunner pressed to his marker. Got you. He laughed. Actually laughed. Well played, Cadet Vorse. Well played. The siren sounded. Game over. Our team won. The aftermath was chaos. Every team demanding to know how we did it. Instructors reviewing our approach. Some calling it brilliant. Others calling it lucky. Rax just glared from the sidelines, still stunned from his earlier elimination. That night, there was a celebration. Nothing official, just cadets gathering in the common area, talking, laughing, reliving the highlights. I found Mara sitting alone on a balcony, looking up at the stars. You know, I said, settling beside her. A month ago everyone thought you were a joke. Now you are the most respected cadet in the academy. How does that feel? She was quiet for a long time. Honestly, lonely. That surprised me. Lonely? You have dozens of people who want to train with you, learn from you. They want to learn from me. That is not the same as wanting to know me. She glanced over, present company excluded, maybe. Well, I said carefully, what do you want people to know? That I am not special. I am just persistent. Humans are not naturally better fighters than any of you. We are not stronger or faster or tougher. We don't quit. Ever. We keep trying, keep adapting, keep learning until we figure it out. That is our advantage. That is our strength, and it is not genetic. It is cultural. It is a choice. She paused. Anyone can make that choice. Is that what you want to teach? That anyone can be like you if they just don't quit? I want to teach that being the best fighter is not about winning every fight. It is about being the person who gets back up one more time than they get knocked down. That is the real victory. I thought about that. About all the times I had wanted to quit during our training sessions. About how Mara never let me, never let any of us. She just kept pushing, kept encouraging, kept believing we could be better. You know what? I said. I think you are already teaching that. Whether you realize it or not. She smiled. Maybe. We will see. And we did see. Over the following months, the culture at the Valorian Academy shifted. Not overnight, not completely, but slowly, steadily, the attitudes changed. Cadets stopped assuming they were the best just because of their species, started questioning their methods, started training smarter instead of just harder. Mara's optional classes became the most popular in the academy. Instructors started incorporating her principles into standard curriculum. Even Rax eventually swallowed his pride and joined a session. He was not good at it, but he showed up. That was something. As for me, I graduated top of my class that cycle. Not because I was the strongest Draknar or the fastest or the most naturally talented, but because I learned to think, to adapt, to see combat as problem-solving instead of just violence. And I learned it from a quiet human girl who walked into the most elite combat academy in the galaxy and proceeded to school everyone without even raising her voice. The galaxy thought humans were weak, fragile, harmless. They were so focused on looking at what humans lacked that they completely missed what humans had: determination, adaptability, the refusal to accept limits, the absolute stubborn insistence on finding a way forward no matter what. Those are not weaknesses. Those are superpowers. and the rest of the galaxy is just starting to figure that out. Me, I figured it out the day Maravos put Rax on the ground in 90 seconds and didn't even break a sweat. Best education I ever received. And I did not even have to get my scales kicked in too many times to learn it. Well, not too many times. Okay, maybe a lot of times. But I learned that is what matters. That is what Mara taught us. Not how to fight, how to learn, how to grow, how to become better versions of ourselves. And honestly, that is worth way more than any combat trophy, though I will say the trophy I earned at graduation looks pretty good on my wall. Right next to a photo of our War Games team. 12 cadets from different species, different backgrounds, different strengths, united by one thing. We all learned from the human. We all learned that quiet does not mean weak, that small does not mean helpless, that different does not mean inferior. We learned to look past the surface and see the real strength underneath. The Valorian Academy is a better place for it. The Coalition military is a better force for it, and I am a better warrior for it. All because one human decided to show up and prove everyone wrong, not with speeches or arguments or demands, but with patient skill and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you are capable of. Humanity. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I said it, and I meant it.